All right, this is going to be AP Calculus. We're talking about Unit 4 Pretest. I'm going to go through the solutions one by one. So before we begin, these were the stats. You can pause it here in the video if you need it, but let's go to number 1. All right, so an equation with this is tangent to the line. So anytime you see tangent to the line, you should always think of the equation y, let me get my pen working here, y minus blank is equal to blank the slope times x minus the x coordinate. With that, we need to take the derivative of y. Derivative uses what rule, ladies? Quotient rule.
Yeah, quotient rule.
Low, D, high.
I was like,
Low,
I don't know what I cycle, but I thought it was quotient.
D high minus high D low. All over low. Yep. 3x minus 2 squared. Okay, I'm not even going to simplify it. Let's go ahead and immediately plug in 1 and 5. We're only plugging in 1 because we only have x's. So therefore, y prime is equal to, and I'm going to skip some steps here. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is 1, times 2, minus 2 times x, so 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, times 3. All of that is divided by 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is 1, squared is 1, it's over 1. All right, 1 times 2 is 2, minus 15, and 2 minus 15 is negative 13. So the y prime at x equals 1. So I think the better way of saying this, if the function was f, then f prime of 1 is equal to negative 13. Therefore, the slope here is negative 13. We knew the x-coordinate was 1, the y-coordinate was 5. So we have the equation y minus 5 is equal to negative 13 times x minus 1. And therefore, y is equal to negative 13x. And then distribute the negative 13 times the negative 1, that's a positive 13. Plus a 5 is a plus 18. Is there anything that looks like that? Oh, well, look at this. So b, if I added 13 over here, so y plus 13x is equal to 18. There's b.
Yeah, on this one, like, they mixed them up, so I was like I wasn't 100% sure. Like, did they just do that?
Yeah, like, I got that,
like,
but then, like, it was, like, a negative.
Yeah, so 50% of us got that correct. Let's go
So,
about.
okay, wait, hold on. Oh.
No, it was yeah.
All right.
You're good.
Okay, number 2. I need to go here. Uh-oh. It's going to be cut off a little bit here. What? All right, so let f be a function defined by that. Which of the following is a line tangent? Line tangent is still the same thing. Y minus blank, y minus the y-coordinate is equal to the slope times x minus the x-coordinate. All right, so I have my function. I have x equals 1. I'm missing a y. I'm missing the y-coordinate. I have the x-coordinate, and I'm missing the slope. To find the y-coordinate, what do I do?
Set x to
Plug in negative 1.
Plug in negative 1. Negative 1 cubed is negative 1 times 4 is a negative 4. Maybe I should show more of my work. I'm doing f of negative 1 right here. F of negative 1 is equal to negative 4 because negative 1 cubed is negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 1 times negative 5 is a
plus 5.
positive 5. And then plus 3. Therefore, f of negative 1 is 4. We just found the slope. Or not the slope, the y-coordinate. Sorry, y-coordinate. So that's our y. So we have right now 4 here. We have a negative 1 here. We need to find the slope. So slope means I'm taking f prime of x. And I have to go fast in order to get through all of them. So I'm taking the derivative 12x squared minus 5. Now I'm plugging in f prime of that x. X was negative 1. And that's going to equal negative 1 squared is 1 times 12 is 12 minus 5. And I get that simplified to 7. So 7 goes there. So now my equation is y minus 4 is equal to 7 times x plus 1, double negative there. And then therefore y is equal to 7x, distribute the 7, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. There's C. Questions on number 2?
Nope.
Can I go to the next one?
Yep. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making stupid blunders.
Number 3 is going to be cut off a little bit also. That's fine.
For what? For what? What number?
3. I got C.
All right, so for the function that it gives us f prime, f of 0 equals 1. Okay, we're doing an approximation of 0.1. Approximation means we still need an equation. So what is our equation? We need a y coordinate and x coordinate. So there's our x coordinate, there's our y coordinate, and we need a slope. Slope is going to be found by plugging in x into our f prime. So when I plug in 0, I get -2. So the slope is -2. Again, I plugged in 0 into x. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 2, slope is -2. All right, so my equation.
This is when I was having trouble with my math. My decimals times decimals.
Okay, let's go ahead and work on that then. So y minus 1 is equal to, my slope was -2 times x minus the x coordinate, so x minus 0. So that's another way of, let's just leave it like that. So y minus 1 is equal to -2x. So now I'm plugging in 0.1. That's my approximation. So 0.1 goes in for x. So now my equation, I can switch colors here. Now my equation is y equals -2 times 0.1. And I'm adding that 1 over to the right-hand side. That 1 moved over from the left-hand side. -2 times 0.1. Well, that's going to be 2 times 1, then move the decimal place. -2 times 1 is -2. Move the decimal place. -0.2 plus 1. -0.2 plus 1 is 0.8. So the correct answer is C.
Well, so what I did was I just plugged in and I didn't simplify first. You know what I mean?
You didn't simplify what?
Like I just plugged it into the first thing that you wrote.
This thing? Or this thing?
Yeah, that one.
That should have still worked because it's still -0.
No, it did work. It's just that I was having trouble with my multiplication.
Oh, got it. Okay. Moving on to the next one, unless there's a shout. There's no shout. So number 4, the trig
Oh, I
comes
hate
back
it.
to haunt us.
Yeah, Mr. Still, you do expect us to memorize codes of
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so if you want, I can make another additional worksheet for you guys to study to just memorize your trig. It's kind of a simple one. All right, so y is equal to this and x is equal to this. We need to find the equation of the line tangent. So it's another y minus the y coordinate is equal to the slope times x minus the x coordinate.
I could set it up.
So therefore we need a y coordinate, and we have the x coordinate. X coordinate is pi over 4. We need the y coordinate, so let's plug in pi over 4 into the equation. So y equals cosine of 2 times, and then the x coordinate is pi over 4. That means I'm doing cosine of pi over 2. Cosine of pi over 2, that looks like this. Pi over 2 is 90 degrees, and cosine is asking for the x coordinate. X coordinate is 0. So therefore cosine of pi over 2 is equal to 0.
Fudge. Wait,
And that-
one more time, sorry.
Okay, so cosine of pi over 2. Pi over 2 is 90 degrees. It goes straight up. This is 90 degrees right here, or that's pi over 2 if you want to think about it that way. So there's my point, and it's a distance of 1 because it's on a unit circle. And then cosine says, what is the x coordinate of that point? Sine is what is the y coordinate of that point. So sine of pi over 2 is 1.
So cos equals
Cosine of pi over 2 is equal to 0.
x-axis, right?
Cosine, think of how far left and right, x-axis, yes. Therefore, it's y minus 0 is equal to, we still don't have the slope yet. So to find slope, we're going to take the derivative. So y prime here is equal to, and I should probably do this a little bit lower down here. Y prime is equal to, so cosine of 2x, derivative of cosine is negative sine of 2x. Don't forget chain rule. Don't forget dinner times 2. So now that we know that, we can plug in our x coordinate to find the slope at the x coordinate. Plugging in the slope, or plugging in the x coordinate, I get negative sine of 2 times pi over 4 is again pi over 2 times 2. Sine of pi over 2, we'll look up here. Pi over 2, what is sine of that coordinate? 1. 1 times -1 is -1
Wait,
times...
how did you know that it's 1?
So sine is asking for the y coordinate. If this is on the unit circle, the unit circle has a radius equal to 1. Therefore, the height here is 1. If it was down here, the height would be -1.
Okay.
So sine of pi over 2 is 1 times -2 is -2. So I have -2 here. So this is equal to -2. Therefore, y is equal to negative. Oh, we're there. We don't have to rewrite this. So y equals -2 x. Yeah, there it is. E.
So pi over 2 times 2 equals 1.
Hold on.
Or
Sine of
pi, just pi.
So you do this after you take sine. The order of operations says I do sine first and then multiply by 2. You don't multiply by 2 with the inside of the sine.
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm such an idiot.
All right, so that was number 4. Again, number 4, 2 of us got that correct.
That was really confusing.
Number 5, 2 of us got this one correct as well. So let's go to number 5.
So wait, so number 4. Sorry, what was the answer for 4?
I think it was E. Let's go back. Number 4 is E, yes. All right, here's number 5. All right, 2 people got this one correct, so a lot of people missed it. The volume of an expanding sphere is increasing at a rate.
1 second.
Yes.
I'm still
Wait, how'd you-
confused on number 4, but whatever.
Me too. Like, I don't get how you just got to your final product.
How did I get to -2?
Oh, because it's just asking for the equation.
Yeah. Once we have this slope, then we have the rest of the equation done. All right, are we good,
Okay, I think I'm good then.
Rosalie? Okay, we can always talk about it later after class. Number 5, so we have an expanding sphere and increasing at a rate. So this is V prime. V prime is equal to, it's increasing, so it's a positive 12. And when the volume of the sphere, so the volume of the sphere is 36 pi. I'm making fun of my lisp. How fast in square feet per second is the surface area? So surface area prime, that is what we are looking for. All right, so if they give us information, that means we need to somehow use it. So volume is equal to this, therefore let's set volume 36 pi equal to this. So 36 pi is equal to this equation, is equal to 4 pi r cubed over 3. All right, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides here by 3 over 4 pi. 3 over 4 pi. That way I can cancel out the pi's here, cancel out the 3's there, and cancel out the 4's there, and I'm just left with r cubed. All right, let's do 36 divided by 4 first. 36 divided by 4 is
Wait.
9. 9 times 3,
27.
27. Pi's cancel out. So I'm left with 27 is equal to r cubed.
So you're solving for R. Okay, I did this term. Okay.
So now r is equal to 3. Cube root of 27 is 3. Now I have r. I've used up v. I need to use up v prime. To use v prime, I need to take the derivative. So the 3 is going to multiply down in the denominator, and that 3 in the numerator are going to cancel out. So my v prime equation is 4 pi r squared r prime. All right, what do we have? We have r. Do we have r prime?
No.
Oh, we don't have r prime, but we can figure out r prime because we have v prime. V prime is 12, so let's plug in. 12 is equal to 4 pi, r is 3, so 3 squared r prime. Let's solve for r prime. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 4,
Wait, I have a quick question. How did you get the equation for V prime?
v prime. So this is a powerhouse. Powerhouse says the derivative 3 comes down. The 3 and the 3 cancel each other out, and I'm just left with 4 pi r squared.
Oh my god, my life would have been so much easier. I was trying to do 3 to the negative 1.
Oh. Yeah, if it's just divided by 3, don't worry about quotient rule. All right, so 3 squared is 9 times 4 is 36. Divide both sides. Maybe I should write this out. 36 pi r prime is equal to 12, and therefore divide both sides by 36 pi, and I'm left with 1 over 3 pi is equal to r prime. I simplified. 12 over 36 is 1 over 3. Pi is still on the denominator. Now that I have r prime, I can find s prime, because s prime, if I take the derivative of this function, it's powerhouse. The 2 comes down in front. 2 times 4 is 8. So s prime is 8 times pi r prime. We have r prime. R is 3, r prime is 1 over 3 pi. So s prime is equal to 8 pi, r again was 3, r prime was 1 over 3 pi. Notice what cancels out. The 3 and the 3 cancel each other out. The pi and the pi cancel each other out. S prime is equal to 8. Correct answer is A. And again, that was number 5. Number 5 had 2 of us get it.
I got 8 pi.
Next one. You're totally messed up. It's still got
If I would have gotten my r prime right, then I would have gotten it right. 'Cause look, I set it up right.
All right, 100% of us got number 6 correct. And that is because it was on
Even did the derivative of for V.
the self checks. Did we remember the answer, or did we have to recalculate it?
No, I knew the answer. I
You-
just saw 2 times circumference.
No, I remembered how to do it, and then I remembered the answer, so I made sure I got it right.
All right, so I'm going to go through this just really quick. So at a certain instant, the rate of increase of the area, so this is A prime. So A prime is equal to twice 2 times the rate of increase of the circumference. That's C prime. And we know that A is pi r squared. A prime is equal to 2 pi r prime. We knew that C is equal to 2 pi r. C prime is equal to 2 pi r prime. Notice what we have the same. We have a 2, we have a 2. We have a pi, we have a pi, we have an r prime, we have an r prime. Therefore, we can say that area, come on, change colors here. Area prime is really equal to circumference prime times r. And therefore, subbing this in, C prime r for area prime, C prime r is equal to 2C prime. Divide both sides by C prime, and you get r is equal to 2. D. All right. Everyone got that right? I'm going to go to number 7. What did we get for number 7 again? Number 7, most of us got it correct.
Yeah, I got it right.
Maybe I should, can I alt-tab to get to, no, I'd have to go like this. Yeah, that works, okay. So number 7. I'm finding a quicker way to look at the stats for each problem. All right, here's number 7. This is from a previous test and a pretest, I believe. So the graph of a function is shown below. Which of the following values does C for the double-sided limit as x approaches C equal the height of 1? Which one of these has a height of 1? Height of 1 looks like somewhere on that line. So there's a height of 1 possibly there, possibly there, possibly there. Double-sided limit, does it equal 1 for the first point?
Yes.
Yes, circle it. Does the double-sided limit equal 1 for the second point?
Yeah.
Yes. Does the double-sided limit equal 1 for this third point?
No.
No. So the correct answer is -2 and 0. -2 and 0, number 7.
Oh, that's bright line.
All right, going on to number 8. So the mean value theorem guarantees the existence. Oh, a lot of people got this one wrong.
That's it's redonkulous.
Number 8, only one person got it correct.
Was that you, Gil?
So
Wasn't me.
what are the coordinates at this point? Okay, mean value theorem. Every time you see that, you immediately write f prime of C is equal to f of B minus f of A all over B minus A. If you already wrote that, give yourself a pat on the back. That's what you're supposed to do. All right, but what are A and B? A and B are harder to find in this one. A and B are x coordinates. So what are the x coordinates? It's between 0 and 4. Therefore, A is 0 and B is 4.
Wait.
So A and B are always x coordinates. If you want to write that in the notes, you can. So let's go ahead and find f prime of C.
How do you know that A and B are x coordinates?
That's the definition of the mean value theorem.
That's stupid.
So we have y equals x square root of x. Square root of x is the same thing as x to the power of 1/2. That'll help us later. So when we find f prime of C, f prime of x is equal to 1 over 2 square root of x. This is something that hopefully we've memorized. The derivative of square root of x is 1 over 2 radical x. Do we need to see how to derive that one more time?
No.
No?
Wait.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, so the 1/2 comes down in front. So 1/2 comes in front, so I have 1/2 x, and then I subtract 1, right? To the negative 1/2. X to the negative 1/2 was in the numerator, but now it's in the denominator. So that changes to 1 over 2 to the power of x to the positive 1/2. X to the power of 1/2 is square root of x. So I get 1 over 2 square root of x. All right, so there is how I solve that one. So that means f prime of C is going to be equal to 1 over 2 radical C. And that needs to be set equal to f of B minus f of A all over B minus A. Well, B minus A, that's going to be 4 minus 0. We can sub those in now. Let's find f of B and f of A to put into these two spots. So what is f of B? Let's work on that down here. F of B, that is equal to f of 4. When we plug in 4 into our equation, we get 2. Perfect. F of A is equal to f of 0, and therefore f of 0 is 0. So this is going to be 2 minus 0.
I thought it was 1/2.
1/2. So square root of 4 is just 2.
Oh. Plug in the original.
Yeah, plug in the original, not the derivative. Yeah, be careful. All right, so now I have my equation, and I go ahead and I'm going to cross multiply. But before I do that, I'll simplify just so that we can follow my work. This is going to be equal to 1/2 cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, I get 2 square root of c is equal to 2. Divide both sides by 2, and I get square root of c is equal to 1. Therefore, c is equal to 1. All right, we're not done yet. We need an x and a y coordinate. We need to verify that the y coordinate is 1. If it's not 1, then it's e, none of the above. So we have the x coordinate. That guy's our x coordinate right there. We need to find our y coordinate. How do we find the y coordinate?
Plug it back in.
Plug it back in up here. Square root of 1 is
1.
1. Therefore, the y coordinate is 1. X coordinate is 1. The correct answer is 1, comma 1.
So my mistake is that I used the wrong coordinates for A and B. But otherwise, I think I would.
Stupid.
That's good.
So c equals 1.
Yes.
But isn't that the slope?
C is the x coordinate for which the mean value theorem is true.
And you already know that the y coordinate is.
We didn't know what the y coordinate was, but we can find it just by plugging x into the original equation. All right. So that was number 8. Let's go to number 9. All right, number 9, what did we get? Number 9, only one of us got it correct.
No, I have never even seen it.
So, oh yeah, Pythagorean theorem, this one is a little bit harder. So, we know that our equation that we're using is a, instead of a and b and c, I'm going to use x, y, and z. It'll be easier. So, x prime plus y prime is equal to z prime. So far, so good? Let's start plugging in what we know. Actually, I'm going to label the diagram first. So we know that actually, yeah, I think it's better to just go into here. So we know z prime, this thing is z prime, is equal to 1. So z prime, that's 1. We know dx dt is 3 times dy dt. So what we can do is we can plug that in. So what is x prime? X prime is 3y prime. What I just did here is the hard part, I believe. Make sure we're paying attention. I plugged in x prime. In for x prime, I did 3y prime. Because it said x prime, this says x prime is equal to 3y prime. Therefore, for x prime, I plugged in 3y prime. All right, we also know at the instant x equals 4, x is equal to 4. I can label that on here too. And y is equal to 3. Y is equal to 3. We need to figure out what dx dt. So x prime is the question. X prime, what is x prime? All right, so we need to figure out our z. 3, 4, z is 5.
Oh.
3, 4, 5. You need to have that memorized.
It's okay, Rose.
But you can use Pythagorean theorem if you don't have it memorized. You're correct. And then we have y prime. We don't know what y prime is, just leave it y prime. Notice what we have. We have one variable that we can solve for. We can find y prime. And once we find y prime by using this equation, we come back here and say, oh, multiply by 3, we get x prime. So
Wait,
let's...
how do you know z prime?
Z prime, it told us that z prime right here is 1.
Oh, God.
All right, so 4 times 3 is 12. Y prime plus 3y prime is equal to 5. Therefore, 15y prime is equal to still 5. Therefore, y prime is equal to 1/3 after I simplify it. And now I need to multiply by 3. 3 times a third is
1.
1.
Why do you... Oh, because you are solving for...
Yeah, boy.
You're solving for x prime.
I'm solving for x prime. I solved for y prime.
I feel so like calm.
Mammoth Dental. They want to schedule things. Yes, missed call, I know. All right, number 9 is up there. It's good. More time? Yes, no?
Yes.
Just a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're over halfway done with the time for class, but we're not halfway done with the pretest. I have to pick up the pace.
Okay, you can go.
It really stresses me out.
All right,
Really?
number 10.
So it was A, right?
Yeah.
Correct answer is B, 1. Because you plug in 1/3, that was y prime. We need to find x prime. X prime said x prime is 3 times y prime. Multiply by 3 and you get 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So then we go to number 10. So number 10, we got 2 people got that one correct. So let's go ahead and, oops, let's do this. we'll talk about it in a, I didn't see. So y equals 2 times cosine of this. We need to find, this is y double prime. This is not y prime. D squared y over dx squared, that's y double prime. That's the main error that I saw in all of our tests. All right, so y prime, let's do that first. Y prime is equal to 2 times, derivative of cosine is negative sine of x over 2. And don't forget dinner, times 1/2. So that is equal to negative sine of x over 2.
How come the 2 just stays? Wouldn't that just be...
So the 2 and the 1/2 cancel each other out. The inside always stays the same. All trig functions, always, always, always. When you take the derivative, it stays the same. That goes forwards or backwards. It's a constant. We haven't even gone backwards yet, but that is a rule that stays the same. Inside stays the same for trig functions. Y double prime. I take the derivative of sine. Derivative of sine is it's cosine, and we have the negative already. So negative cosine of pi over 2. Don't forget dinner times 1/2.
How did you get pi over 2?
Oh, sorry. Should be x over 2.
I did that at first too, so then I was like, wait, was I like...
X over 2. My bad. Okay, sure.
Yes.
So negative 1/2 times cosine. So negative 1/2 cosine of x over 2, and that looks like e. All right, and that was number 10. Let's do number 11. All right, number 11. This one is also a review problem. So y prime is greater than 0 says slope is greater than 0, or positive slope. Slope positive maybe is a better word. Y double prime is less than 0, that means concave down. Okay, which one of these are concave down? These are both concave down, that's concave up. This is both concave up and down, that's both concave up and down. All right, which one of these has a positive slope? B.
So this was E, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Number 10.
Yeah.
So that was number 11. Let's do number 12.
Dang it, I got 12 wrong. I always get these ones wrong, and I feel really confident.
What did you get?
I got A.
Decreasing. The main error here was forgetting to leave the negative factored out. You can't get rid of it. So let's go through this. F prime of x. This is equal to 15 plus 12x minus 3x squared. So far, so good?
Why do you even need F?
Yeah.
F prime is because the definition of decreasing is f prime of x is less than 0. We're looking for f prime. So I need to set this equal to 0 to find the critical values, and then once I find critical values, I can figure out where it's decreasing. So setting this equal to 0, and I'm going to rearrange this to negative 3x squared plus 12x plus 15. Yep, you can. So I'm going to leave that negative 3 there, too. Negative 3 times x squared minus 3, or minus 4x.
You can't take that out of the 0, so you can't just fully like take it out of
You can't leave it out because that's still the original equation. Minus 5. Therefore, 0 is equal to negative 3 times x. That's going to be minus 5 plus 1. X minus 5, x plus 1. And therefore, your equation has critical values at negative 1 and 5. All right, so let's do a test point, and we know it's going to switch over each one because both these is to the power of 1, which is an odd. Odd always switches over the critical values. Therefore, at negative 2, let's try plugging that in. Negative 2 is going to make this thing a negative. Negative 2 is going to make this thing a negative. This is always a negative. Therefore, this thing is a negative. Therefore, this is decreasing. And it always switches. Positive, negative. So it's also decreasing over here, increasing here. It's decreasing less than 1 and and decreasing greater than 5. Less than 1, greater than 5, D.
Dang it!
Whenever it's a compound inequality, that means it's between two things. This is only one interval. These both were two intervals, and that was just all numbers. So that was number 12. Don't forget to leave that negative 3 factored outside.
Oh, I got it backwards because I forgot the negative.
I have done that before so many times, I can't even tell you. I think I've made that error more times than you have tried solving this problem. All right, so number 13. and how do we do on number 13? On 13, all of us got it right. Nice.
Yay.
So let's go through this really quick. So it's talking about where minimum, maximum, and inflection are, and it's a domain between -2 and 2. This is a graph of f prime. So all of this is hard to see right here, but this is f prime of x.
So f prime equals height. I feel like this one was easy for me. Slope.
Exactly. That's how you start this one. So you start by saying, what is height?
No, I didn't.
Height is f prime.
Wait.
Slope is f double prime. We're looking for where f prime is equal to 0 to find those critical values, and we're looking for f double prime sign change. So we need a slope sign change. The only slope sign change is right here. It has a negative and it's a positive, so there's one inflection point. So it can't be this one. Okay, let's look where there's f prime equals 0. That's a height equals 0, and therefore there's only one point. It's right there. Now we need to figure out if it's a minimum or a maximum. It was a positive value, and it went to a negative. Therefore, it's a max. We're looking for one max, one inflection. One max, one inflection. There it is. All right, number 14. Another review problem. How did we do on number 14? Only 2 of us got it right. Okay, so this is a review problem.
Yeah, I thought it was limit of to fit to infinity.
It's a limit to 0. Yep. All right, so limit to 0. The 3 steps. Plug in is the first step, and if it works, then you're done. When you plug in, you get 0 over 0. Whenever you get 0 over 0, there's 3 things that you always do, and they are factor, cancel, plug in. Beautiful. You guys still remember. Okay, so let's factor this. So I still have the limit as x approaches 0, and then the factored form, I factor out at what?
X squared.
X squared times 5x squared plus 8. And on the bottom, I can factor out a 3. No, I can't factor out a 3. I can factor out an x squared again. X squared times 3x squared minus 16. All right, and I cancel out, right?
Yes.
Cancel is step 2, and then plug in again. If I plug in 0, that goes to 0. This goes to 0, and I'm left with
What are you saying?
8 over negative 16, which simplifies to
Negative 1/2.
-1/2. Correct answer is A. All right, are we okay? Do we understand 14?
Wait, no, I don't get how you got to 0.
So these 2 went to 0 because I plugged in 0. Last step is plug in again.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah, so 0 for x, and you're just left with 8 over negative 16.
Like, I've been this problem more times than you can count.
I think the more important part is I've made more errors than you have attempted the problem. You need to make errors in order to learn.
That is true.
Reading about that right now in the Scarlet Letter, and I want to puke.
All right, number
You
15.
can't deny your sins. You gotta learn.
Wait, so it was negative 1/2, right?
The correct answer was negative 1/2, yes.
Okay, good. I'm a little behind today. I'm kind of pulling a kill.
Wow. All right, so number 15. What is the slope of the line tangent? Oh, line tangent, that means I'm doing y minus the y coordinate is equal to slope times x minus the x coordinate. Come on, girls.
We're in it.
All right, so number 15, how do we do on 15? Half of us got it correct. All right, so we have the point 3, 2, so this is going to be 3, this is going to be 2. We don't have the slope, so to find slope, we take the derivative. All right, derivative of this, and we get what?
6y y prime
Oh, yep, 6y y prime
minus 4x
minus 4x,
equals negative 2xy prime
Oh, yeah, I got this.
2xy prime
minus 2y.
minus 2y. Perfect. All right, and then go ahead and start plugging things in. So we know what x and y are. This is x, this is y. So this is going to be 6 times y. 6 times 2 is 12. That's a 12y prime. Minus, and then 4 times x is going to be minus 12. Plugging in 3 for x is equal to negative 2 times x. That's negative 2 times 3. That's a negative 6y prime. And y again is 2, so minus 4. 2 times 2. Let's get all the y primes on the same side. I'm going to add 6y prime to the other side, and I get 18y prime is equal to, I add the 12, and I get an 8 on the right-hand side. Divide both sides by 18, and y prime is equal to 8 over 18, which is equal to 4 over 9. Therefore, the slope, oh, we didn't even need this equation. I'm sorry, we only needed the slope, because it asked for the slope.
Oh, my God.
I got confused. When I saw line tangent, I immediately went to the default, which is okay. We just wasted time a little bit, but that's fine. When it's asking for slope, it's only asking for this part of this equation. Yeah, so the correct answer is 4/9. It's
I
B.
am so good. I was so close to getting number 16 right, and I just forgot the negative.
All right, so let's do number 16. Another review problem.
Wait, why do you screen? Oh, so you can put it on.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to rewrite my f of x because f of x is better written as
I figured out yesterday that
e to the x to the negative 1. Therefore, the derivative f prime of x,
Have they been reading it?
f prime of
like,
x
not a lot, but like
is equal to,
like, stretched.
come on girls, e to the x to the negative 1 because I'm in e house. E house, you write the same thing and then you multiply by the derivative of the inner. You multiply by dinner. And that is going to be negative x to the negative 2. So that whole thing turns into, there's a lot of talking, e to the x to the negative 1
Over x squared, but it should all be
over negative x
negative
squared.
That's
Yep.
what I did wrong.
Oh, you only forgot the negative? Darn. And the correct answer is A.
I hate these ones.
All right, how do we do on number 16? Number 16, only 2 of us got it right. Okay.
They probably guessed, okay?
I just remembered. I remembered, okay, Rosalie?
Number 17, I think 5 of us got it correct. Is that what I just saw?
16
Can you
was
see 17?
17, 5 of us got it correct.
I didn't get it
That
right.
looks so
I got it right.
It's so like blocked out.
Thank you.
Number 17, 5 of us got it right. All right, oops. Okay, so 17, here we go. The graph of f of x is shown. Which of the following could be the derivative, f prime? Okay, so that means on this is f, so therefore height,
So it was A.
come on, height
Yeah.
F of X.
is f of x, perfect. That means slope is equal to f prime of x,
Oh my god.
and concavity is equal to f double prime. I should have just wrote f double primes and primes. All right, so notice here that the height, wait, we don't care about the height because that doesn't give us anything. We need to look for where we have f prime. F prime is slope. Look, I have a slope of 0, slope of 0, slope of 0. This one has a slope of 0, 0, and 0. It could be A, can't be B. I'm looking for where it intersects the x-axis at those 3 points. 0, 0, 0, 0, that's one too many zeros. This doesn't have the right number of zeros either. It touches once and twice. Can't be D. So we are between A and E. The way that we tell the difference is we say, well, if you have the general shape of this kind of looks like that. That is a positive quadratic, or technically this is a positive quartic.
Oh, and then that's how you could tell because they both had 3 IPs and 3 relative extremes.
So this one had three critical values because f prime is equal to 0, 1, 2, and 3 times. Therefore, this one should cross the x-axis at 3 values, 1, 2, 3.
So they both did, so then that's why I kind of got lost. And then also the slope changed. Wait, but then I was confused because the slope only changed twice. So that's only 2 IPs.
So it's not where slope changes, it's where concavity changes for the inflection point.
Yeah, so there's 3 concavity changes, right?
So this is concave up, concave down, concave up. There's 2.
Yeah,
1,
so
2.
then on the derivative, you're looking for 3 changes in slope, right? Because
No,
that's-
so there's one change between up and down, and then another change between down and up. There's
Oh,
2
there's
changes.
only 2, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, never mind.
All right, and then the way that you tell that these are different from each other, if it's a positive quartic, it should be a positive cubic. Here's the positive cubic. Because the general idea is if you straighten out the line, it would go like this. That's a positive slope. This one would be a negative slope. So the correct answer here is E. All right, we have our fire drill coming up in 15 minutes, by the way.
Oh, I forgot about that.
All right, and let's go to number 18. We're getting really close. I think we're going to make it. Number 18. How do we do on number 18? None of us got 18 right. Okay, we definitely need to talk about this then.
I got it right.
Wait, you
Nah,
did?
I'm just kidding.
You got me, okay. All right.
I know. Poor people that like got number 16
So,
right.
if this is true, then what is this? Remember, this is saying y double prime. So we need to find y prime. Well, look, if we just divide both sides by x plus 2y, then we're left with y prime dy dx is equal to, I still have the 2x minus y on the right-hand side, divided by x plus 2y. I just rewrote this equation differently.
So you basically put the dx dy dy dx, you just wrote that as y prime.
Yeah, it's easier to write.
Okay.
And I divide both sides by x plus 2y, so it turns into this. And all I have to do is take the derivative of this, and that gives me y double prime. So y double prime, taking the derivative, what rule am I going to have to use?
Quotient.
Quotient. So that's low d high. So low d high. And this is going to be a little bit hard. 2 minus y prime minus high d low, 2x minus y. D low is 1 plus 2y prime, all over low low, x plus 2y quantity squared. All right, I need to start plugging things in. I have an x, I have a y, but I also have a y prime. How do I plug in for y prime? I plug in x and y into this one, and I get a number out of y prime. So when I sub in x equals 3 and y equals 0 into this equation, I get 6 minus 0, all divided by 3 plus 0. And that turns into
Close.
2
So then,
What were we solving for there?
for y prime. Y prime at this point, 3, 0, is 2. Therefore, we can plug in 2 into each of the y primes. So plugging in, and we get x again was 3. 3 plus 0 times 2 minus 2 minus 6 minus 0, 1 plus 4, all of this divided by 3 plus 0 squared, 3 plus 0 squared. All right, simplifying.
Jeez Louise.
So 3 plus 0 is 3, 2 minus 2 is 0, so this whole thing goes to 0, because this was
Why
0.
would it exist? Oh wait.
Hold on, so 6 minus 0 is 6.
2 equals
6 times 5 is 30. So I have a negative 30 on the top, and on the bottom I have a 9. This simplifies, divide the top and bottom by 3 into negative 10 over 3.
Is that negative 30?
Negative 30, yeah, because it was a minus 6 times 5.
I wonder. Like a chihuahua or something.
All right, are we good on 18? We have 2 more problems, and we have 2 more minutes.
Okay, go.
I thought you were talking to me at first because like.
All right, number 19. How do we do on 19? 4 got it correct. All right, we're looking for inflection points. That's easy. It already gave us f double prime inflection points is where it changes. We're looking for odd powers. That's a power of 1. That's a power of 1. So the odd powers are this one and this one, not that one.
So odd powers don't count. It's negative. Wait, I'm confused. Wait.
So wherever you have an odd power, that is an inflection point for f double prime.
But with positive, it's not an inflection point.
What do you mean positive?
Like a positive, like
Do you mean even?
even. Yeah, even. That's what
Even is, yeah, you're right. It doesn't change signs for an even.
Oh,
All right, so 0 and negative 1, C, 0, negative 1. Again, inflection is where f double prime changes sign. Okay, and last but not least, we have number 20.
Yeah, this one was a pain. I feel like she always is like.
I believe one of us got it correct. You can't see it on the screen, but it is, yeah, one of us got it correct.
That was me.
I
Nah.
think I completely guessed and got it right.
All right, so
I didn't.
here we go.
I did not know.
This line is tangent in the first quadrant to this curve. All right, this is one of those you do tangent. Tangent is 3x minus 4y equals 0. We need to take the derivative. I don't want to do it right away. I guess I could. Let's just do the derivative. 3 minus 4y prime equals 0. You agree with that derivative? Okay, let's solve for y prime. So I get negative 4y prime is equal to 0. Oops, not 0. Negative 3, and therefore y prime is equal to 3/4. All right, now let's talk about the curve. The curve was y equals x cubed plus k. Let's take the derivative. Y prime is equal to 3x squared. Well, we have a y prime and a y prime, set them equal to each other. Therefore, 3/4 is equal to 3x squared.
What happens to the k?
When you take the derivative, think of the k as like plus 3.
Wait, where did you
It's
get
just a
the
constant.
3x squared? Oh, I get it.
All right.
So you set y prime equal to 3x squared. Wait, what happened to your k though?
It's like.
It's a constant. Derivative of a constant is 0.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like plus 3. All right. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I get 1/4 1/4 is equal to x squared. Therefore, x is equal to plus or minus 1/2. But because it said first quadrant, that means it's only positive x. So x is actually only equal to 1/2. All right, we need a y, we need an x, and then we'll solve for k. We have our x, we need to find our y. How do we find our y?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. So let's talk about our tangent function again. When we plug it in, we have 3 times 1/2 minus 4y is equal to 0. 3 halves minus 4y equals 0. Negative 4y is equal to negative 3 halves. Y is equal to 3 over 8. Now we have our x and y plug into our equation, and we have 3/8 plus 1/2. Wait, not plus. 3/8 is equal to 1/2 to the power of 3 plus k. Solve for k. That's all we do and we're done. 1/2 cubed is 1/8. This is equal to 3/8. Subtract 1/8 and I get 2/8 is equal to k. Simplify and I get 1/4. Correct answer is B.
Wait, I got B. And I didn't.
Bubbled in wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Sorry.
Oh, dang, sorry. What is that supposed to mean?
Same thing happens with the AP test. I'm not going to give you credit. All right, that ends the video.